Welcome to the Neural Implant Podcast, where we talk with the people behind the current events and breakthroughs in brain implants in an understandable way, helping bring together various fields involved in neuroprosthetics. Here is your host, Ladin Yurachek.
Welcome to another Toronto RehabWeek 2019 Spotlight interview presented by IFAS, the International Functional Electrical Stimulation Society. Thanks to them for sponsoring these episodes.
So we are here at RehabWeek in the exhibit hall, and we are sitting at the booth of Helius Medical and with Kim Skinner, who is a physical therapist and working with the company. Welcome, Kim. So tell us a little bit about Helius Medical and what you do with them.
Thank you. Yes, I'm the Director of Physical Therapy, and Helius Medical is a medical technology company designed to bring technologies to the public and make it work in a clinical setting. And so the first device that we're trying to bring is the PoNS device. And I actually worked at the University of Wisconsin doing research with the device, and I came over from the academic side to the industry side to help commercialize the product and the training.
Excellent. And what does PoNS stand for?
It's the Portable Neuromodulation Stimulator. A little play on words because of the PoNS. And the PoNS, we know that we are linking to the PoNS in the cerebellum when we stimulate the tongue. So it kind of works on a couple different levels.
Tell us about this device. We're looking at, mannequin head that rightly has the Toronto Raptors hat on.
Yay, Raptors.
It looks like this almost headset-like device.
They're like neckband headphones. Actually, what I'm wearing right now, which I'm always wearing.
It does.
And then there's a wire that goes from that into a device that goes onto the tongue.
Mm-hmm. So it's two parts. With this part that goes around your neck that looks like a wireless headphone, we call this the controller. This is where all the guts are, and there's an accelerometer in there, there's a motherboard in there, there's sensors in there, and then the second part is the mouthpiece, and that is where the electrodes are. So both are important, and this is, you can take it out like that. It just plugs in like a microphone, right? And the electrodes are what go on your tongue and provide the stimulation to your tongue. But they don't, by itself, it doesn't do anything. It has to get information from the controller to do that.
So what is this for? Why would somebody put this thing around them, and what is your target population?
Right. So we designed this at the University of Wisconsin to be portable, for one thing, and to work with people that have neurologic conditions. And our focus right now is mild to moderate traumatic brain injury, people that have a chronic balance deficit. So what we found with training with the device is we can stimulate the tongue. The cranial nerves in the tongue, the trigeminal nerve and the facial nerve get stimulated. You can kind of, in our little visual display, see where it's connected to the PoNS and the cerebellum. Those are the nerve connections. So if we stimulate those nerves, you get this cascade of neural activity. And when you do targeted training, so balance training, gait training, whatever kind of training you're doing, you've got this environment to create neuroplasticity. So you get changes by sending those signals to the brain. We do a 20-minute training session. You get 25 million impulses. So that's 25 million action potentials that your brain has the ability to act on. So our neuroplasticity in our brain is activity dependent. Stimulation by itself, we don't think does anything. You have to pair it with an activity. And so we focused on people with chronic balance deficit. Those are the people that have had balance problems a year after their injury. They've gone to PT and they're still having problems. They have problems walking, standing, closing their eyes in the shower. Their life is definitely not what it was prior to their injury. So that's our focus, is people with balance problems. And then we do this training with the device. They don't wear it all the time. They wear it during training. So people, sometimes there's this misperception that they have to wear this 24 hours a day. That's not the case. Training only. And then what we've found that after 14 weeks of treatment, those gains are sustained without the device. So you can get a short-term benefit. It acts very, very quickly. In fact, in the first 2 weeks, you get the most change. But it takes the additional 14 weeks to get the neuroplastic changes. So that's why we've created the 14-week program.
This is for people with balance issues, targeting those with brain injuries, stroke. I mean, what about the aging population? Are you looking at that?
We think that there's a potential population there. We had to do your pivotal study. You have to focus on a population. You can't just do anybody with a balance problem. And so we had to narrow it down. We had to try to create a homogeneous population. We chose to focus on mild to moderate traumatic brain injury. We chose to keep the inclusion between 18 and 65 years of age, because once you get over 65, you get balance problems due to aging or other comorbidities. And so that was our target. That's what we're focused on now. And we do think, because the mechanism of action for brain injury is similar to stroke or similar to those in the aging or similar to other neurological diseases, that there is a potential application there. And in our lab at the University of Wisconsin, we did study those, but we did a lot of case studies. There's a lot of things that were unpublished. They're very experimental, and we need to study them in larger populations to make any really kind of definitive conclusions. So right now our big study was in the mild to moderate traumatic brain injury.
Sounds like you couple it with some type of balance or conventional balance. Tell us, what do people typically pair it with? What are you doing in your trials?
Right. For the trials, we have created a standardized treatment template. So in physical therapy, if you're familiar, basically I have to treat the person who's in front of me. I have to treat what are your problems and what are your problems. They're going to be different. And with brain injury, especially, everyone's got different problems, but we decided to focus on balance. And so the training that we do is targeted to the balance within this training template. So, for example, in the morning, they do 3 20-minute sessions. In the afternoon, they do 3 20-minute sessions. In the evening, they do 1 20-minute session. They do 2 weeks in the clinic with a therapist, a PoNS trained therapist, somebody that I've trained to follow our template. And then they do the remaining 12 weeks at home on their own. So it's portable. They take the device home. They do the training that they learned in the clinic. They come back once a week to meet with a therapist to get their training updated. How are you doing today? Can we progress your exercises? Because you have to train at the sweet spot. If you don't, you're not going to get any benefit. So it's a progressively challenging, you have to also be challenged program over that 14-week period, but it does follow a template without being standardized. It's individualized within that template.
So within that template, again, are you stimulating before you do the therapy, during the therapy, or after, or all of the above?
Before and during, so not after. For example, we will do balance training, 20 minutes of balance training, and imagine standing in a difficult position, which might be standing on a piece of foam with your eyes closed and your fall. And so we're going to work on cueing you from the therapist perspective. I'm going to give you cues on your posture, on your right shoulder is dropping, or you're leaning to your left, or get them to figure out where their alignment is so they can internalize that. So we would spend 20 minutes working on balance, and then we might do 20 minutes of exercises based on what your, let me go back. The balance training is done with the device. So we've primed the brain, and now we're going to do 20 minutes without the device and do movement exercises. What do you need to work on in your gait? Do you exhibit an internal rotation? Let's work on that. Let's try and get that alignment straightened out. Do you have asymmetry in your gait? Let's try and get equal gait. Do you have a really wide, a lot of people that are unsteady, they walk with their feet really far apart. Can we narrow that base of support? So you work on movement exercises, and then we would kind of do the same thing with gait training. And you would do 20 minutes of gait training with the device, working with those exercises, bringing them into your gait training so that you can incorporate what you've learned, practiced, into your gait, and now you can change your gait, which is your dynamic balance.
It sounds like it's a take-home device as well. So
Yes.
Is there a clinical device and a take-home device, or is it all the same?
Nope, you get one device. It's one device, one patient, one mouthpiece, one patient. The mouthpiece expires after 14 weeks. The device can only be reset by your clinician in the clinic. So at the end of your 14 weeks, basically you've completed your program. So you use the same device in the clinic that you use at home.
So I'm really curious, you have this thing that you put on your tongue. Usually we're so used to seeing people stimulate muscles or, slapping on an electrode on their arms or their legs. What does it feel like to put an electrode on your tongue?
Yeah.
Is it salty, sweet, sour?
It doesn't really have I guess if you're talking flavor or taste, it probably is metally. I mean, it's gold plated.
Yeah.
So if you put a piece of gold in your mouth, that's what it would taste like, okay? But it feels like we describe it as tingling, like Pop Rocks, if you've ever had those, or like carbonated beverage is what it feels like. And the person who's using it can control the intensity. You turn it up, you turn it down, and you just have to find a comfortable level. If you turn it up higher, it doesn't make it work any better. You just have to feel it. As long as you feel a sensation, we know that you're getting the stimulation.
So when you say turning it up higher, there's a lot of parameters when it comes to stimulation.
Right.
What are you turning up?
So what you're doing is you're adjusting the wavelength.
The pulse width?
All the rest of it is the same. Nothing changes. It's a burst mode stimulation. It's 4 bursts. We remove that 4th one, so it's 3 bursts and then a break, because that way you don't adapt to it. Mm-hmm. And so all you can change is the pulse width. So as you open that pulse width, it's going to feel stronger and stronger.
The physical therapists have the ability to change other parameters, or it's
Nope, it's set.
You're like, no, you're only getting pulse
You
width.
only get to change. Exactly.
We're not giving you any more parameters. That's all you get.
And on the electrode that goes on the tongue, there's a number of electrodes.
Yes.
Is there a specific reason you chose this number? And also, do they all have the same pattern? Do they all fire at the same time? How exactly does it work?
Great question. It'd be great if I could give you a visual.
Yeah, we'll take a visual.
We have to
No,
paint,
I mean on my computer.
Okay. We have to paint a picture with our words.
Yeah, so there are 143 electrodes. At the University of Wisconsin in Madison, we did tongue mapping. So we mapped people's sensation on their tongue. Your tongue is more sensitive than your skin. You don't have this thick corneal layer, so it's much easier. It doesn't take as much energy to stimulate the tongue. And so therefore, it's one of the reasons we were able to make this device is by not having it so strong. So these electrodes, what we found when we did the tongue mapping is your tongue is the most sensitive in the front and the least sensitive in the back. And so we made this array to kind of be average for an average tongue. This is the size of an average tongue. When you put it on your tongue, the top of the array goes towards the back, and then this goes towards the front. It's separated into 9 sections and 4 quarters. And so each quarter there's ohm resistors in there. So it's 100% in the back quarter. And then as you move forward, each ohm resistor makes it less and less and less intense. So by the time you get to the front quarter, it's only 47% of the stimulation level as the back. But that way it feels the same across your whole tongue.
Feels like a flat or like a
Yes.
uniform thing. Okay.
And then, as far as the stimulation rate and how that happens, each of those 9 sections has 16 electrodes, except for one. It only has 15, and that's just because of the design. And at any point in time, there's 1 electrode firing in each of those sections. Okay? So at any point in time, there's 9 electrodes firing. 9 come on, 9 go off. 9 come on, 9 go off. 9 come on, 9 go off. So, but it feels like constant stimulation. It's so fast that you don't feel it. It's even faster than I can snap my fingers. So it just feels like this constant tingling on your tongue, and you couldn't even tell me where it is, except that it's somewhere in there.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Yeah, and it's not a square pattern. It's kind of in the shape of a U, kind of
Right.
like somebody sticking out their tongue.
Yes.
Yeah, that's really interesting.
Yes, and thank you for describing it better than I did.
I remember seeing like a TED Talk or something like this. Somebody, like a blind person, was climbing, like rock climbing or something like this. Could this be used for something similar, or was that something similar to that?
That technology came out of the same lab at the University of Wisconsin. It's a vision substitution device, which is kind of prior art or prior protocol. It was designed, the vision substitution concept was the very genesis of this technology. It started there, then they went to vestibular and balance. And so same lab, different uses. So still stimulation of the tongue. The electrode array is a little bit different on that. And it's connected to a camera so that they can see, like turn and see you, and then that pattern that I see goes to the tongue.
And then rock climb.
And rock climb, yeah. Well, Eric is an exceptional, I would say, participant or athlete. He's just an amazing person, yeah.
Yeah. So tell us the availability of this device. It's available in what country?
In Canada. Only in Canada. It does require a prescription from a physician, or in the case of when we hope to get it cleared in the United States, you can go to a PT also and get a prescription there. Right now we're working on the approval process or the clearance process in the US, in Europe, and in Australia. And we got cleared in Canada first. We have 5 clinics here. We have 3 that are on board right now that are open and treating patients. One's in Surrey, one is in Montreal, and one is right here in Markham, Toronto. Those clinics are currently seeing patients. We're opening 2 more, I think one in Calgary and one in Ottawa, and we're continuing to add more as we go on. And those are under the name of Heuro. They're Heuro clinics, Heuro. And if people want to find out where to go or to get more information, they can go online to ponstreatment.ca. And PoNS is spelled P-O-N as in Nancy, S. There's no D and there's not a pond. ponstreatment.ca. And that it'll give them, I think, a form to fill out if they want more information, or someone they can call, or a clinic that they can go to find out if they would be eligible to be in this program.
Excellent. Yeah. Well, thanks so much for telling us about this device. It's really exciting.
Sure.
And we'll take it from there.
Yeah, very cool.
Thank you for the invitation to talk. I love talking about it. It's great.
Yeah.
Hope you enjoyed the show and were able to learn something new, bringing together different fields in novel ways. Until next time on the Neural Implant Podcast.